Hey everybody, it's December 29th and welcome to QRK Radio. I don't know what we're talking about today. Here are my co-hosts Quan and Kevin. Kevin, we're going to complain about Toronto for an hour, is that right?
Oh, I think we'll complain about Toronto a little bit anyways.
Sweet.
Yeah, I don't think it'll last more than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's Toronto. It has to last the whole show. we have to fulfill the center of the universe's desire to be the constant subject of everything.
End of year Bash Toronto special, basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah, let's do this every year. Let's complain about Toronto once a year every year.
So what is it about Toronto that we want to moan and bitch about?
Well, one thing that's topical about Toronto is the World Junior Hockey Tournament's on right now, and it is in Toronto and Montreal. And 2 years ago, it was also in Toronto. So I'd like to know what makes Toronto so special to get that tournament 2 out of 3 years.
Thoughts, Randy?
Money.
Yeah, I think money. I also I think from a logistics standpoint, it probably makes sense. I think most of the junior players play in North America, in the Quebec League and the Ontario League, and they're just in that region. Even though some of them do play for like Team Russia and Sweden and whatnot. Most of them are over here, I believe.
Money. I think it's such a cool thing for not just this tournament, not just the U21s, but like the U18s. All of these tournaments are so cool for the kids who are involved. It's such a unique experience for them. The reason it's in Canada, though, every other year, which I think is something you wanted to bring up in a bit, but I'm going to just go ahead and say that now. It's not just, to Quan's point, sure, logistics, but I think primarily it's because Canadians are insane about this U21 tournament in particular. Like, it's lunacy how we treat this here.
Yeah,
if we win gold, it's like winning the bloody Olympics. And if we lose in a tournament of very good teams, it's like this existential crisis of, well, we can't fucking win at hockey, so what's the point of having a country anymore?
You're just generalizing here, right?
Well, no, but...
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Like, I'm quite serious. I think it was... I might be wrong in this. I think it was Patrick O'Sullivan who tweeted out... and if it wasn't him, I apologize, but to the person who actually had this tweet, but I love this tweet. The goalie for Team Canada is one of the hardest jobs in all of sports, and I'm paraphrasing. You sit there and you face no shots for an entire tournament, but if you don't win gold, until you win gold, you're roundly criticized and second-guessed and don't get any credit the entire time. And God forbid you lose as the goalie. Like, particularly for the goalie on Team Canada, because it's always the goalie's fault that we don't win the gold medal, no matter what.
And Canada's only won a medal and a gold medal once in the last 4 years. Like,
yeah, existential crisis. We go through this every year. Like, are we not? Am I wrong?
No,
you're not. The hand wringing over the state of Canadian hockey.
You're right, and I think maybe this year. I guess, this year they had the World Cup, right, which Canada won. And 2 years ago we had the Olympics, which Canada won.
People gave less of a crap, I think, about the World Cup.
Oh, yeah.
Than the World Junior Tournament.
Although
and again, I'm not trying to take anything at all away from the kids who are over there playing. And I say kids quite intentionally because they are. It's a U20, it's a U20 tournament or 21? Am I wrong?
It's U20, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's U20, so there's no 20-year-olds at all?
No, I think they're allowed a certain number of 20-year-olds.
Yeah, so it's a U21 tournament.
No, it's
under 20.
Under IHF U20 World Championship.
But they're allowed 20-year-olds. It's under 20, but they're allowed 20-year-olds? All right, whatever.
I think so.
Okay.
Player eligibility. The player has his 20th birthday in the year the tournament's ending.
So 2017.
Yeah.
Okay. So they
right
really
now
can't have 20-year-olds.
Right now,
they could have a 20-year-old so long as they're born between January 1st and like 6.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, whatever. Okay, so the U20 tournament, apologize for calling it the U21s for the entire show so far, but the U20 is, they're children. They literally can't buy beers in the United States, these guys. Yet it reminds me of this time I was at a Hitmen playoff game This is a number of years ago. I think it was actually the year that they won the WHL championship at the Edge House Cup, and they were playing Brandon, and this guy was in the crowd. I think you were with me, Kevin. Do you remember this? This guy was in the crowd in like the 5th row, just giving it to the Brandon kids, like just this trash talk, swearing, like complete tool. And I'm sitting here, I almost said something because I'm like, dude, this kid's like 17.
Yeah.
And you're going after him like he's a pro hockey player.
I guess it's good preparation for the NHL.
No, it's stupid. How many kids in major junior actually make the NHL, Kevin?
Yeah, I know it's not that many.
It's a handful every year.
But so another thing that I wonder about is the Toronto Sports Network making this tournament bigger than it is too, especially now that they don't have the rights to the NHL?
It's their only property that happens every year that's of any significance. So absolutely they make it bigger than it needs to be. And frankly, they have been going down that path since before they lost the rights to national NHL broadcast.
True.
It's been more. It's kind of like trade deadline day. It's becoming more and more of a media thing than it is an actual thing. And it's cool that people travel to Europe to go. I might do that someday. Travel to Europe to watch some junior games and do a trip to Europe at the same time. That sounds cool.
Well, in 2020, it's in the Czech Republic. That's the next one in Europe.
That's seriously?
Yeah, next year.
North America every year until.
Where is it for the next few years?
Next year it's in Buffalo, and then the year after that it's Vancouver, Victoria.
So Canada.
No, well, basically Buffalo's practically Canada.
I think you could throw a rock and hit Buffalo from the Canadian
So it's
border.
basically Toronto 3 out of 4 years.
Yeah.
Screw those guys.
Yeah, screw those guys. But that sounds cool. Maybe we should do a trip to the Czech Republic in 2020.
They should do this tournament. I'm just looking back. Like, it was Saskatoon and Regina in 2010, then Calgary in 2012, Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, Victoria. They needed to do one in Atlantic Canada, I think.
That would go banana. Even though there's not that many people, it would sell out like crazy.
It would sell.
Yeah, maybe 2021 after the Czech Republic's also in Canada, so maybe that one.
You just have to split it, right? Like you have to be like,
Halifax.
You have to be like Charlottetown, Halifax, St. John's, kind of thing, or something like that, or St. John's and St. John.
Sorry, the Canada games would sell out. I'm not sure the other games would sell out.
What?
If it was in Atlantic Canada.
What are you talking about? We're talking about junior hockey.
Yeah.
Oh, Canada games. The
Canada games.
I thought you were talking about like some sort of Canada games, like the Winter Games. The Canada games would sell out. I got the Czech Republic versus Denmark on right now. I don't know.
Well, they'd probably technically sell out because I remember when it was here, the packages, you basically had to buy packages to get tickets, and that meant you had to buy tickets to games that you might not go to otherwise.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's exactly how they would do it.
Now, whether people actually go to those games,
whether they go or not, it's a different story. But I'm looking right now. It's Toronto, and it's half full.
Yeah.
For the Czechs versus Denmark.
It's also 1 o'clock on technically a work day.
Still half full.
Yeah. In a city of whatever 4 or 5 million people or whatever Toronto.
Well, I mean, it's the entire country, Kevin.
Right, that's right. It's the entire country.
It's all of Canada.
So what's the weather like in Canada today?
I mean, we're all within like 72 hours by car to Toronto. We could all go to this game.
Yep. It's 2 degrees and partly cloudy across all of Canada right now.
What is it actually? I haven't been outside today.
Well, that's what it is in Toronto. Here it's,
I know. I got the joke. I was legitimately asking a question.
It's -5 here with a wind chill of -9.
So I got stuck in my SUV.
Maybe we should talk about snow.
Yeah, we got a lot of it over the last week or week and a half.
Yeah.
So, and you got stuck in your SUV?
Yeah, I tried to go to it was night. This is stupid. It was night, and I took a backcountry road, and things were going okay, and there were some sections of deep ruts. Clearly, like snow had blown across the fences, and where I live, for our listeners, is the north end of the city, and north of me literally is a whole bunch of farm fields, wheat, grazing, whatever, and so there's not a lot of trees. There's no snow fences or anything. It's barbed wire fence. So I'm driving. And And then all of a sudden I'm in this deep ass rut, and it's deep. It's almost up. I got about like 7 inches clearance in my car, and it was grading the bottom of my vehicle at times. And then all of a sudden the traction control starts flashing and everything, and then I just stopped dead. It just kept, that kind of feeling where I was like, come on, momentum, get me through this. I just got to get to the top of this little hill, and I should be through the snow dip. And eventually I just like kept slowing down, and then stopped. And I got out for a couple reasons. My vehicle has a locking center diff in it, which is helpful. So I put that on. And then I realized I was working it back and forth slowly for a little while, moving about 6 feet at a time. And then I realized, back to my days of driving a rear-wheel drive sports car in the winter, traction control is your enemy if you're stuck, because it kills your throttle so your wheels don't spin. So I'm hitting the gas, and then as soon as my wheels spin, the traction control takes all my throttle away, and then I just stop again. So I literally couldn't go over like a snowball. I'm not joking. Go ahead.
Do you have winter tires on your SUV?
No, I've got all seasons right now. They're the factory tires because it's new. So as soon as I chew through them, I'll put winter tires. That would have helped. But as soon as literally I sat there for a couple minutes working it back and forth, and then kind of the light bulb went off, flipped the traction control off, and then I just, it had no problem getting out again. Wheels spun a couple times, but as soon as I got a little momentum, the tires bit, and I was able to back out of it. I had to back out about 100 feet down this farm road to get out of the ruts again, because I wasn't about to go forward, because who knows what was beyond that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was the first time I've been stuck in forever, and I just got a little overconfident, I think, in the abilities of my SUV.
Did the snow, so just like for those who don't know, we got like half a foot to a foot of snow on Christmas Eve, mostly in Calgary, depending on where you live in the city. Did the snow impact your Christmas plans at all?
No, my family was able to come down from Red Deer, which is really good because we were worried about that. My in-laws got in from Saskatoon before the snowstorm. It just stressed my wife out on Christmas Eve because Quan joined us for Christmas Eve, and Angel, and Quan and I may have polished off a couple of bottles of wine. So Jen had to drive home, and she hates driving in the snow, and I didn't really think about that, so I felt badly. But we made it, and everything was okay. I actually had a lot of fun, to be honest. On the 23rd, I went out shopping to get a present for my little guy, and ended up just driving around in the snow because there was nobody on the roads because of the storm.
Yeah,
and I thoroughly enjoyed just like kind of scooting around and
it is fun driving
listening to Christmas tunes in the snow.
Yeah, the main roads are fun.
As long as
once you get into the neighborhoods, that's when things can get a little dicey and you get nervous because you're wondering if you're going to get stuck on the side or
have someone coming at you driving on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah. Did that happen to you?
Yeah.
Happens every year, yeah.
I'm fairly confident in my winter driving abilities, but lots of other people, not so much.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Like I had some guys doing some dumb stuff that night. I was out shopping, like trying to pass me where there was no lane.
Yeah.
Like normally it would be a 2-lane road, but there's just no lane.
Yeah.
Some days when you're in heavy snow, and they're trying to pass me speeding during the blizzard. On
snow, right?
Driving in not just snow, in deep snow where they're plowing with their tires.
Yeah.
And that's just stupid. The slightest slip and they would have hit me, right?
That happened on 17th.
Like, why are you in such a rush?
That happened on 17th Ave. Typically there's 2 lanes, and then there's also a lane for parked cars, but because of the snow, there's a snowbank, so basically took away like 2.5 feet of your second lane, but you still had people trying to squeeze through. And
and that's a tight squeeze to begin with, as I recall. Yeah. It is. Go ahead.
Well, just props to the city for doing a good job of clearing off the roads even over the holidays. I think they did pretty good.
Yeah, I think they did a good job. The only real tough, like Christmas was better than Christmas Eve. Going up to my stretch of the neck of the woods in Christmas Eve, they hadn't gotten to a lot of the major roads yet. But I mean, there's only so much you can do when it is blizzarding. Like it's just going to blow back onto the road.
And at least we're not Winnipeg. My cousins got snowed in on their farm on Christmas Day because they got a much bigger blizzard in Winnipeg over Christmas.
Yeah, they got a serious one from what I heard.
Yeah.
Like they shut down the highways going in like every direction.
All the way across.
I saw a great tweet
Manitoba,
that was like, "It's Manitoba. We do winter by ourselves."
Yeah.
Yeah. it was shenanigans. It's I'm with you, Kevin. I don't mind driving in the winter. Like, I will say though, Quan, to your point about getting stuck in a neighborhood, I'd far rather, at least where I got stuck out in the country, I was only about 200 meters from a farmhouse. So worst case scenario, I could have gone and knocked on the door, but that was definitely sketchy.
Yeah,
I was stuck out in the middle, not in the middle of nowhere, but I was stuck out like a few kilometers from my house, from any home other than that farmhouse, and in deep snow.
Yeah.
Without without a shovel or anything to dig myself out. I would have been digging myself out with my hands and putting like rubber mats under my tires or something. So it would have been had I not gotten out, it wouldn't quite the feat.
Yeah, being prepared in the winter is important.
Yeah.
One of my cousins actually almost froze to death a few years ago because he went out in the country and got stuck and didn't have anything. And they were not near anything. They had to walk a few kilometers to find a house. And then the house they got to, there was no one there, but the door was unlocked. So they like basically went in, trespassed, and used the phone and got safe. But you got to be prepared. I mean, I'm driving down to Montana tomorrow. And granted, it's on a fairly major highway the whole way, but we'll still make sure we have, the emergency kit and stuff like that.
What do you have packed in your emergency kit, Kevin?
Emergency kit, blanket, flashlight, a little bit of food.
Tin can and candle.
Candles,
yeah,
a big one.
Yeah.
Shovel.
Yeah. Don't know if I have a shovel actually. Go look into that one.
A little bit of kitty litter or gravel or something.
Yeah, because I mean there is some snow in the forecast, and also it's really windy through the Crow's Nest Pass right now. Like they have wind of up to 100 kilometers an hour down there today. Ooh. So yeah.
Oh, when you're actually going through Crow's Nest?
Yep. Down to Whitefish, do some skiing. And some driving.
Nice.
So Kevin, what was our next thing that we wanted to talk about here?
Well, it segues into New Year's. New Year's Eve is in 2 days. 2017 is about upon us. So as is tradition at this time of year, many people like to set New Year's resolutions. Have you guys set any? Or do you do that kind of thing?
I personally don't, only because if there's something that I want to work on, I kind of take action right away. I don't wait until the new year. So on that mindset, I'm always continuously trying to improve myself. And I have a different way of...
I don't try to improve myself. So like Quan, I'm just continuously not working at anything to better myself. So resolutions are not necessary once again.
You're not resolving.
I kind of have one. It's not really a New Year's resolution. I'm like Quan too, in all seriousness. My folks got me P90X3 for Christmas. So started yesterday. I'm gonna go through the routine, eat healthy, and try to drop a couple of pounds, but get myself in better physical shape. But it's not really a New Year's resolution because I do this a few times a year.
Yeah. And I'm similar. Like I don't see the point in waiting for one day of the year to make changes. I like doing 1 month challenges throughout the year where I'll like change something up every month, for example. And
when you do those, Kevin, do you continue them after the month is over?
Not always. Generally I find, like, for example, I went vegetarian 1 month, like a year ago or something like that, and I didn't continue it after, but I did find that I started eating more vegetarian meals, or, I cut out alcohol 1 month, and I didn't stop drinking, but I did cut back. Like, it's generally an impetus to make a bit of a change for me, but not like a permanent change. Whereas the month I cut cable or stopped watching TV, I then did cut my cable. I mean, I still watch TV now and then, but I don't have cable anymore.
Hey, Quan, side note, did you notice that there's a lag on Kevin's feed, so he looks like an anime character right now?
I didn't notice that.
It's pretty hilarious. Yeah, dude, I like that idea. I mean, I find that if you don't put so much pressure on yourself to like make some sort of drastic change, and you just try to like take it one step at a time, it's a lot easier to actually make substantive differences. For instance, my wife and I are trying to eat more of a plant-based diet, but we're not saying, oh, I'm going to be a vegan overnight. It's like, hey, we're only going to eat meat 2-3 days a week to start, instead of like, we've had already cut back to not eating meat even once a day. And so now we're just reducing it further to the point where we're going to be like, my personal goal is to be like 80% plant-based.
And
4 meals a week might have a meat-based protein in them.
And I've read lots about habits and changing habits and everything like that. And there's tons of research showing that smaller changes over time and not putting so much pressure on yourself work a lot better. So, there's lots of people who say New Year's resolutions are not the way to do it. And I agree with that. If you want to make some changes, great. It is a great time to start. But if you're a couch potato and you want to get in good shape, don't say I'm going to start working out 7 days a week on January 1st.
Yeah,
right?
The common analogy I come across is a comparison between running a marathon versus doing a sprint. And if you look at it with the marathon perspective, with a marathon mindset, doing, what you need to do, bits and pieces at a time, you're more likely to develop the habit to get you across the finish line. Whereas, if you're sprinting to try and finish this marathon, chances are you're going to quit, pretty early in the game.
Yeah.
Because it's just too hard. It's too hard to sustain it, right?
Yeah. And that's bang on. And also, like Randy says, giving yourself permission to not get it perfectly right. Like if you're making the change and you're getting, like say you're eating healthier 4 days a week, you're still eating healthier 4 days a week. Like that's pretty good. That's better than just eating the same crap you used to eat 7 days a week, right?
Well, yeah, and then you get used to it, right? And then it becomes the new normal, and you kind of can move on from there. I know when I tried it a few times to do P90X, and I wasn't big into working out at the time. This was a number of years ago. Myself, or things would go wrong, or life would get in the way, or I'd get sick. And because I had this mindset that I needed to stick with the calendar exactly, I needed to do my 7 days a week of workouts, as soon as something got in the way, I felt like I failed. And then it was way easier to be like, well, I already failed, so what's the point of continuing this? So then when I actually got it done and succeeded and did the whole program, it was because I took that pressure off, and I just said, you know what, if this week I'm going out on Friday night for dinner with my wife, I'm not going to worry about missing one workout because I still did 6 this week, or I've done 5, and I'll just continue on my point in the calendar the next day. And I know that's not the way you're supposed to do it, but I still did all 90 workouts in about 4 months, right? Between hockey once a week, which I was not doing doubles on hockey because I tried that once and it went to terrible, terrible results. I could barely get through my hockey game because my legs were burned. So, I between hockey and then the odd miss, it took me 4 months instead of 3. But I got through the 90 days and I lost almost 20 pounds, and went from doing like no chin-ups to doing 10.
Exactly. You still achieved results, right?
Huge results. Like best results of my life.
And if you set out at the start and said, these are the things I want to see, if it takes 4 months instead of 3, that's not really a big deal.
Well, yeah, especially if you think about like fitness as a transformational thing. There's a lot of people who go out there and they're like, well, for them, it's either it's a number, I'm going to lose this much weight. Is the most common one, which is a really tough measure, because that's not, weight itself is not a good measure of fitness on its own. I mean, if you're obese or overweight, yeah, okay, you want to lose some weight. But I mean, I've said this before on the show, virtually every NHL player is overweight by a BMI standpoint because they're big blocks of muscle. So their body weight is out of whack with BMI, but they're probably among the most in shape people we could find. So they do that, and then they're like, well, I'm going to start right away. I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that program, and I'm going to go to the gym 6 days a week. And like you said, number one, it's an untenable goal. Number two, you have to have your expectations in line with what you want to achieve. Like, if you decide to go full vegetarian and you're like, I'm never eating meat again, cold turkey, how many people can actually do that? If you decide to quit smoking, how many people can quit smoking unassisted cold turkey?
Especially the first time they try.
Especially the first time, and
Not very.
succeed. It's not very easy, and it's the same with any of these goals. If you try to just go for maximum results, you're not going to succeed. If you look at like P90X and you look at Tony Horton, if you think that you're going to do P90X and you're going to look like or be able to match Tony Horton physically, starting from like an average Joe or below average standpoint in one round, no.
Yep.
That's years of conditioning to get to that point. But if you're realistic about that and you bite off small goals, like, you know, in the first round, I said to myself, I want to do like 5 chin-ups from not being strong enough to do any. And I did. And then I passed that goal. And then if you say your goal is to be able to do 12, rock out 12 pull-ups and 12 chin-ups in a row, well then make that your goal, but that's probably a few rounds of workouts in.
Yep.
Like Juan, you hit a new PB on the bench. How long did that take you to get there?
I've been lifting on and off for probably over 10 years now, but to hit that new PR, I mean, it took me about 5 weeks to get there. And I'm probably going to hit a new PR today because I feel good. And the last workout was really good. So
nice.
You got lots of Big Mac fuel in you.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I'm taking a different approach. Like for me, I'm focusing on strength training, strength conditioning. So, you know, at least I have an end goal and I have a strategy and a routine or plan that kind of fits with that. And it's easily sustainable because I'm only in the gym, you know, 2 to 3 days a week. You know, I do my program and I'm done within, you know, half an hour to 40 minutes. So it's not really taking a whole lot of time out of my day.
And it's heavily focused on one specific goal, which is increasing your personal records on various weights.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's something you actually enjoy doing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's another important part. Like someone listening to this could say, well, these guys are talking about how much they enjoy P90X or lifting weights. That's what I want to, I'm going to start doing it. But then they might hate it, right? Like if you want to get active,
you'll hate it for sure. If you've never been active before and you jump into P90X and on their schedule, you know, it's pretty daunting.
It's grueling.
It is. But even maybe P90X isn't the workout for you. Maybe it's spin class or, you know, playing team sports or who knows. But like, you got to enjoy what you're doing, especially with fitness, I think.
Like neither of what Quan or I are talking about to your jam, right?
No, not really. I'm more of the endurance, you know, sports. Like I do triathlons, right? I do some strength training, but not that much.
It's the same thing with this plant-based diet idea. I really like eating vegetarian food.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy it. I find it really tasty. I love barbecuing and doing stuff like that. So it's like I said, it's not like I'm going full out, but so it's easy for me. It's not difficult for me to go, oh, I'm going to make a broccoli-based pasta, or I'm going to have a vegetarian stir fry with tofu. That sounds good to me. That's something that appeals to me. So for me, it's about learning new ways to cook.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like it's this like onerous concept of, oh my God, I got to eat more. Yeah. Should everybody eat more vegetables? Yeah, absolutely. Eating meat is horrible for our planet, and it's on a whole, at least the quantities that we eat of it, not probably very good for our bodies, because our bodies aren't built to eat meat every day, because our caveman ancestors probably only had meat every now and then versus vegetables. It's pretty easy to find a vegetable in a forest versus hunt a saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah. And the one other thing I wanted to say with any change, if you're thinking about making a change in New Year's, like I think another thing people do is they get this bit of mindset that this change they're making is it's like it's going to be for the rest of my life. Like, oh, I'm going to become a vegetarian for the rest of my life. But I think it's a much better way to look at it like an experiment, like you're just trying something new. And if it doesn't work out, then stop and try something else, right? Like don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, go back to doing something what you enjoy.
I mean, you have to have some level of commitment to it.
Yep.
Or it's easy just to be like, okay, my 1 day experiment of being a vegetarian's over.
No, yeah.
Right?
Like the monthly challenges that I do, right? Like a month is long enough that it takes some commitment, but it's only a month.
And
for me, that's how I feel about the 90-day fitness programs.
Is it just more of an experience for you, Kevin?
I like And yeah, a
Like,
bit of
why
experience.
do you do it, and why 1 month?
Well, the 1 month generally I picked because a lot of the research says for new habits to form, it's like 3 to 6 weeks. So if you want to try and start a new habit, you got to kind of go for at least a month. The other big reason I do it is I like change in my life, like to break the routine up, and also to show in the cases of vices like drinking or eating junk food or, watching a bunch of TV, that I still have control, that I can give those things up for a month and it doesn't really affect my life that much. Those are kind of the main reasons I do that.
Cool. I came across something this morning just by accident. It's a complete coincidence that you wanted to talk about this today, but there was a guy who, was in a bad relationship, was about to get fired from his job, and wasn't very healthy, smoked a lot. And he was kind of giving advice as to how he took his last New Year's resolution. And his approach was interesting, and it seemed to work for him. And I thought it was a good idea. So I'm just going to share it. What he did was he went out and got a calendar. And he started off with one goal. He didn't, he knew he had to make all these changes in his life, but he only focused on the one thing. So I think it was like his smoking habit. And he marked an X on his calendar, and that X represented his goal for that month. So he would break up that one goal into small goals. So he would make steps to quit smoking every day of that month until the X was kind of the prize that he wanted to achieve. And he would build in 1 or 2 cheat days here and there just to kind of give himself a break. And so on the cheat days, he could do whatever he wants. If he wants to smoke a whole pack of cigarettes, he could do that. But he did this. He started out with that, and after a while, he started adding more objectives. So by the end of the year, he was tackling like 3 or 4 things at a time, and because it became so addicting to him, like he really enjoyed it, and it was like he built a habit around it, and it was easy for him to accomplish goals at that point in time. So he did this over the course of the year, and he was able to get into a new relationship and got promoted at work, and made almost twice as much money at his job. Quit smoking. He was exercising regularly. But yeah, it seemed like a good idea how he approached it for the guys who look at New Year's resolutions as the.
Yep. There's a lot of things I like in that story. Like he gamified it in a sense, right? Like he's trying to go for these X's, which there's lots of research that really helps, breaking it into small chunks, right? Like people tend to overestimate what they can do in a month, but underestimate what they can do in a year. And that's a perfect example of he look at all the changes he made in a year. And I think that's one of the big reasons New Year's resolutions fail for people is they think they can make these huge changes right away. But if you do it more gradually, like that guy's example, you can really change your life. That's a cool story. Do you remember what the guy's name was?
No, I don't. Kind of came upon it by accident.
There's a blog I follow called Zen Habits. The guy that writes his name Leo Babauta, and he did very similar thing over a longer period, like over a few years. But he basically went from obese smoker, bad eating, bad habits all over the place, and changed them one at a time, just compounding the changes. So it's a great way to do it.
Nice.
All right. So how are we doing for time here?
We're about 40 minutes in.
Anything else you guys want to talk about? Burning issues of the week?
Oh, nah. What are you guys doing for the rest of the week?
Well, like I said, I'm off to Whitefish tomorrow for a couple days of skiing and
New Year's celebrations.
Celebrating New Year's, yep.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm going to the hockey game tonight. I've been watching the juniors, so I'm probably going to stick with that.
You watching right now?
No, I have the Canada-Latvia game PVR'd for later. But yeah, I haven't been following the other teams all that much.
I just threw Denmark in the checks on while we were on here.
They beat Finland the other day, didn't they? The Danish.
Denmark?
Yeah.
No idea. I have.
Yeah.
I've not been following at all the other teams. Like I said at the start of the show, I know one of the guys on Team Canada, so a friend of the family. So we're enjoying watching him. That's pretty cool. And then, but beyond that, I have stepping away from it a little, just because I get frustrated with how overblown. Like I said, I don't want to take away from the accomplishment for the kids, but I get frustrated with how insane people get in this country over this tournament. It's a fun tournament to watch, but like we lose perspective on it.
Well, that's just it. Like for me, I watch it for the entertainment value. I don't look too much more into it. I don't care what other people see or say or.
Yeah, I'm stepping away from the commentary for that exact reason, because I just want to enjoy the hockey. I'm tired of hearing how the goalie should have done this or the goalie should have done that, and forgetting that, fans often treat these kids like they're pros. Mm-hmm. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of them won't really even have an NHL career to speak of. Mm-hmm. Most of the kids in this tournament won't really play in the NHL, but they're treated like they're pros. Even most of the kids on Team Canada, they're all drafted, but it's hard to say how many of them are going to have a career of substance. Because we all remember there's been a bunch of junior heroes over the years who have kind of flamed out because they just weren't able to make the transition, because that's just hockey. Mm-hmm. But it's important to remember that these guys are kids and they still make mistakes. And that's part of what, for me, makes it a really fun tournament, because the hockey's full of mistakes. So it's exciting. And there's, NHL hockey is relatively sanitary. It's fairly mistake-free. Guys are really smart. They don't make a lot of errors. So consequently, not a lot of crazy stuff happens.
And they're playing for money instead of country.
Yeah, I mean, that aside, because I still think I don't think you can turn down your competitiveness. Do you?
No, you can't. But I do think that when they're playing for country and they're playing to impress scouts too, right? Like they're putting it all on the line.
Yeah, I think so. Although a lot of these kids are already drafted or signed. In this tournament, I think the U17 is really interesting that way, because it's like kids in midget who are trying to get scouted for major junior and things like that. So it definitely has some really interesting stuff going on. But just major junior hockey in general is fun because there are mistakes in it, right? It's interesting, and kids are playing to be scouted and drafted, and so it's fun stuff. It's a little less. NHL's fun because it's still the NHL, it's still pro sports, right? It's the guys who are the best in the world. But
so one other question
for a while.
One other question actually I thought of, as it was a very Star Wars Christmas for me. Have you guys seen the new Star Wars movie yet?
I still have not. No.
Oh, I've seen it twice. You got to go see it. It's good.
Twice.
Yeah.
And it does sound good.
Go to Landmark. I don't know, Randy, you live close to Landmark Cinemas. Have you been there yet?
I haven't, but we got Landmark passes from my parents, a movie night pass. Juan and our company had our trade show booth across from the Landmark guys at the Chamber of Commerce Rev conference this year. So we spent a bunch of time talking to them. They're stepping up the game in movie theaters.
Are they a Calgary company?
I don't know.
They're owned by a private equity.
Okay.
I believe TriWest.
But they are really stepping up the game. Like, you pay the same as you do at Cineplex, but you get a reserved seat that's a leather recliner, and you just show up, and it's amazing. Also, if you download their app, at least as of the conference, when you book your first movie on the app or something, you get a free movie, basically. Oh, wow,
something like that. But then you can do this thing where you can coordinate with your friends via the app as to what time would work for everybody to meet at the movie theater. So you can set up a couple of times, and then everybody can accept or decline, and then propose a time, settle on a time to go to a movie, and then book seats as a block.
Yeah, and the other thing, the OPMA major in me really geeked out when I went there, because they do single line multi-server for their popcorn. So you don't have to worry about getting stuck behind the slow person like I always do.
Looking at you, Colin. Looking at
Colin. So yeah, anyways, I highly recommend the movie, and I highly recommend watching it at Landmark. You don't need to watch the 3D though. I saw it once in 3D, once in standard def. The standard is fine. 3D doesn't really add that much. I hate that shit anyways. 3D
I wear glasses.
bullshit.
So 3D is not all that fun.
so gimmicky.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I've seen some good 3D movies though.
That's true. There are a few good ones, but a lot of them don't. It's just a cash grab.
Yeah. I've only seen one, and I was kind of underwhelmed, to be honest. On that note, too, condolences to Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds' families. Obviously, as on a Star Wars note, the Star Wars universe lost Princess Leia a couple of days ago, and tragically, her mother passed away yesterday as well.
Very
so.
tragic.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's really much to say that hasn't already been said, but yeah, go back and watch your favorite movies.
Yep.
That's a good place to end it. We're back next week, I assume.
I think so.
Cool.
Same time.
Same time, same place.
Same time, same place.
At the hash marks on Twitter.
Quan_Lee.
And Kevin B. Langman.
Cool. And the main handle is at QRK Radio. Have a nice afternoon, everybody, and talk to you later.